everyone, and welcome back to the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. Oh my goodness, happy Wednesday to you all, my friends. Just a reminder that this week we are talking about focus on these things. That is the title. And today, specifically Wednesday, we're going to be talking about your purpose. But before we dive into that, I want to give my general greeting of, again, happy Wednesday. Congrats, you've made it through half the week. You know, it's amazing. I think it's amazing because I'm having a hard week. And if anyone else is having a hard week, I totally get you. But, I do hope that today is going really well. Whether your day is just beginning, in the middle, or towards the end, I hope that it's going the way that it needs to go for you to feel accomplished, for you to feel productive, and for you to feel happy and content as much as possible, despite what you're going through. However, if you are having a hard time, I always suggest everyone do the 5-minute reset, which is to take at least 5 minutes to be by yourself. That allows you to reset, reboot, restart your day, and leave the stressful, crazy, burden-filled things behind to be able to enjoy the rest of your day going forward. The 5-minute reset also allows you time to problem solve and figure out any resolutions that you need for a problem that you are currently dealing with, either on your own or with someone else. In addition to that, I always encourage everyone to create a list of at least 4 things that you are grateful for. That can be really big things, really small things, or medium-sized things. You can be grateful that you were finally able to go out to your favorite restaurant. You can be grateful that you scored something super cool at TJ Maxx or whatever your favorite store is to shop at, Target maybe. I love Target. You can be grateful for chatting on the phone with one of your friends you haven't talked to in a long time, or you can just be grateful that you did not have to work late today. So, the beauty of that is that you can literally be grateful for anything, which means that the list is endless. So there's always something to be grateful for. And then last but not least, make sure that you are feeling at least neutral, if not positive, about the rest of the day, because, despite what you're going through, hopefully focus in on all those amazing things that you're grateful for and that are blessings in your life will kind of change your mood, shift your mindset and your perspective. And it's always a lot better to focus on those amazing things, those blessings, rather than to dwell and worry about the negative things that may or may not be happening in your life. It just makes it a lot easier to get through that rough patch. But I do hope that you are having an amazing day on this Wednesday. Again, like I said at the top of the show, today we are talking about your purpose. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Today we're going to talk about why it's important to focus on your purpose. Now, I want to make sure you understand that I am not encouraging you to focus so much on your purpose that it's unhealthy and too much, but enough that it's important to you. I understand that there is a very fine line between thinking about something and having it at the forefront of your mind and spending deep thoughts on it and figuring it out, and obsession, where you're literally thinking about it all the time. You're letting it cloud your mind from thinking about other things. It's interrupting other activities in your life, like work and family time and any other rest time, where it's just literally almost taking over your whole entire life. So just be wary of that line, that you don't cross it. And I wanted to make sure that I mentioned this because I've been on that side where I was super obsessed. There was definitely a time in my life where I was so obsessed with figuring out what my purpose was, like to the most definitive point, because so many people around me already knew, and it just seemed so natural for them to know, and it just seemed so easy, and it was like no question. There was no uncertainty at all whatsoever, and whether or not they were putting on a front, I do not know. I'm sure some of them were, but it was still so uncomfortable, unsettling for me to be around these people and not know. And, it's kind of interesting because, when you're in college and high school and stuff like that, if people ask you those questions, they expect to have a real answer. And for me, I never had a real answer. I mean, I did go to college for something very specific, which was child psychology. But, even then, it was still very much like, well, I don't even know what specific area of child psychology I want to focus in on. And then it just became even worse once I left college because everything in my life was just spinning. So I just needed to make sure I lay that out first in case anyone else had or is having the same struggles as me. You just need to make sure that there is some balance in there, because you don't want it to take over your whole entire life, because that means that you are zoomed in so close to the thing that you are focused on that your perspective is going to be so narrow that you probably will have a hard time even seeing and knowing what the purpose is, because you're way too zoomed in on everything. You're too hard focused. You need to step out a little bit and be able to see everything for what it is and from different perspective points to really understand what your purpose truly is. That's what I believe, at least. So first and foremost, which is not really first, second and foremost, I want you to know that I do not have all the answers and secrets to figuring out your purpose. To be honest with you, I am not convinced I even know my purpose yet. And you might be thinking, well, Sabrina, why the heck are you talking about this then if you do not even know? Because I've done the work to work towards that, and I do have some tips and steps you can take to get closer to knowing, to understanding it, and working on your purpose. And the honest reason I do not know my purpose yet will actually be the last step that I share with you today. So, we should get into those steps so that you know it. And we're only doing 5 steps today. But I do feel like I am able to tell you, based upon personal experience and research, some steps for you to get closer and to understand more. And, just because I haven't narrowed down mine yet, it's a combination of wanting to be so freaking sure that there are no shadows of doubt. And it's taken me a long time to realize that there are going to be shadows of doubt, because there are that in everything, even the people that are so solidified in the thing that they know that they're supposed to be doing, because you're just uncertain about things. Your confidence can be shaken if you're feeling like judgment and negative attention and feelings towards what you're doing. So it's just all natural, and these are things that I am learning to accept more and more over time. So I feel like it actually is becoming easier to really know that the things in my heart and my mind are true and are actually my real true purposes and passions. So anyway, let's just jump into the steps. So step 1 is to ask yourself the crucial questions. So there are many crucial questions out there. You could easily do a Google search of questions you should ask yourself to figure out what your true purpose is. I just wanted to share 4 of them, 4 of really, really good ones that I found that I felt like would actually give you some deep thought, or you might be like, whoa, why would you ask yourself this question? So one of the critical questions that I suggest you ask yourself is, what skills come naturally to you? Now, this is not a shock, because this is generally a question that everyone has on every single list that you will find out there in regards to finding your purpose. But I find that it's actually a very logical question to ask yourself, what skills come naturally to you? And that is not to say that the things that come naturally to you, the things that you are just naturally good at, that doesn't mean that those are your purposes or passions. So don't freak out if you are really good at something that you don't enjoy doing. And believe me, I have been there for about a decade. Right after I had our daughter, I started a house cleaning company, and I did that for a decade. And I still clean one person's house on the weekend, every other weekend, because it's just extra money. It's only one person, and I kind of feel connected to this person. Anyway, that's a whole different story for another day. But for 10 years, I cleaned people's houses. It was a full-time job, and I made really good money, and I had good connections, and it was good in the sense of building that business, and I was very good at it. I was even told, I do not feel like I'm blowing myself up here or being egotistical by telling you that I was one of the best in my area, because I just have such a high attention to detail when it comes to cleaning and organizing and figuring out what needs to do and being efficient with my time. However, I didn't enjoy it. There were definitely days where I did enjoy it, because I loved to go in and listen to podcasts and music while I vacuumed and cleaned, and it really gave me, and when you clean, even if you just clean at home, you have that sense of accomplishment when you're done because you can physically see it. It's like right there, as opposed to other jobs where, you might have to wait a little bit until you actually see that it's accomplished and that you actually made a difference. Sometimes things have to work a little bit before you can actually see that. But with cleaning, you can immediately see it. And that was the thing that I really enjoyed. However, I was something I'm really good at. It comes naturally to me. So even when I clean my house, it's just like very like, okay, this is fine. But it wasn't something that I enjoyed, and it wasn't something I wanted to do forever. I did do it for a long time, a very long time. But it's just because it was easy. I kind of got stuck in that wave of like, okay, I'm going to continue doing this because it's easy, but I don't enjoy it. It's not my passion. I definitely don't think this is my purpose, but it's definitely a skill that I'm really good at that is helping to carry me through life, make money for my family, and get me to that next season of life where I changed jobs, which definitely happened a couple times after that. So just know, you can ask yourself this question. It can definitely help you, lead you in the right direction. I'm sure if I actually spend some more time really analyzing the other things about cleaning, that would actually help me to even narrow down more on my purpose. And even thinking about it right now in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, totally. Like, my obsession with like organization and being efficient and like really demonstrating those skills, yeah, those definitely play into the purpose that I believe that I have. So that's one question you can ask yourself. The next one I wanted to talk about is what makes you feel in the flow. So is there something, and this is the reason why I knew that cleaning wasn't going to be my purpose and passion, is because I didn't necessarily feel in the flow when I was doing it. And what I mean by that is, do you feel like everything just feels good? It just feels so natural. It just feels so like gratifying. It just feels good. When you're in the groove of something and you're like, oh, this is so good. That's what you feel. And when you're truly like hitting that point of like, wow, this is meant to be, this is purpose and passion. So do you feel that? And ask yourself, when do you feel that? And that'll help you point you in the right direction as well. The third question is, what causes you to forget about everything else while you're doing it? So for example, let's say that for me, one of those things is actually writing notes for the podcast or doing research. I can literally sit here for hours and forget that I need to get up and cook dinner, or I need to go do some house chores, or I wanted to watch a show, or whatever it is. I can get so sucked into figuring out topics to talk about, doing research on those topics, and just like writing out show notes. And that is definitely one of my passions. And I do believe that creating this podcast is actually part of my purpose because I enjoy it so much, and I look forward to doing it. And even in my deepest, darkest moments, I still look forward to pulling myself up and out of that little hole that I dug for myself and doing it and writing those notes and recording and getting that out to you guys, no matter what time it is, and figuring it out for you. So just ask yourself, like, what causes you to just get so sucked in that you forget that you actually have to be places, you need to eat, you need to take care of your family. And I'm not saying in an unhealthy way at all whatsoever. You know what I mean? When you just get so immersed because you just enjoy it so much. And the last question, which might be the one that's like shocking, like what? Why would I ask myself this? Is, who are you jealous of? And when I saw this question online, I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a good question. Now, I understand how someone could totally take this negatively and be like, oh my gosh, jealousy, that's not positive at all. It's not even something you should feed into. I understand that. I do. And I agree. However, if you do find that you are jealous of someone that is doing something, and you secretly in your heart of hearts and in your deepest part of your mind that you will never admit to anyone, at least admit to yourself. If you are jealous of someone that is doing something that you would like to do, then evaluate that. Like, oh my gosh. And the only way that you're going to be able to try and see if that actually could work out for you is to admit it to yourself first and foremost. I would suggest doing it out loud in a mirror. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it really does work. It just helps you to actually identify with yourself, hey, this is a truth inside of me. I need to get it out so I can start working on it, right? But yeah, admit it to yourself. Maybe admit it to someone else that you're super close with that cares about you, that would keep that secret if you do need to have it be a secret for a little while. I get that. But yeah, who are you jealous of? Whose life do you kind of want? And I don't mean the whole life, because you shouldn't be jealous of everyone else's life because the grass is always greener. But like if you're jealous of like something they do, like let's say that your friend is like a writer and that you just would love to do that kind of thing. Or maybe there's someone online that does like fashion blogs or something like that. You're like, oh my gosh, I would just love that. And you're always watching them and you're always caught up with them. Consider that to be a little clue in the right direction of like, maybe that's my thing. You never know what it could be. So step 2 is to volunteer your time trying new things out. Obviously, I feel like this is like a given step. It's like it's giving yourself the opportunity to just try things out, which you should. You shouldn't just sit around and wait for yourself to compile all the information and research and thoughts and, really analyzing everything in your entire life of what you like and what you've done and what you're good at, and then decide on one thing. You should maybe do that, but also you should spend time actually trying things out. So if you wanted to be a doctor or a nurse or a book writer, or if you wanted to, I don't know, race cars or be a fashion blogger or be a makeup artist or be a small business owner selling like clothes or electronics or whatever it is, whatever random thing it is, it's not random in a negative way, you know what I mean? But whatever it is, I would encourage you to find someone that is in that industry, in that job, talk to them about it. Go see if you can shadow them. Go see if you can just like interview them even to figure out what they do, what they like about it, what they don't like about it, how they got into it, what the struggles were when they first got into it, what the struggles are now, what they regret, what they would never regret. Just ask them a whole load of questions, which you can again look up on the internet if you need more ideas of what to ask them, and get an idea of, is that really something that you'd want to do? And then if you do still think that, then try to take it a step further by seeing if you can fully shadow them and be like knee deep with them, immersed in what they're doing the day to day, and ask them to really show you the hard parts. Because I feel like in anything, you always see the glitz and glam and the positiveness, but really ask them to show you the nitty gritty tough things that you would have to deal with from day to day or week to week or whenever it is, so you get actually a full true understanding of what it is. But yeah, go ahead and volunteer. Find someone that will like kind of show you the ropes in like an overview, generalized kind of sort of way to get a better idea of if that's a good fit for you or not, and if the thing that you want to do kind of gives you an opportunity to try it out even, then do that too. And maybe you can get some feedback from someone else and see if they see a natural talent in you, or like what things you would have to work on, and yada, 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 things like that. So step 3 is to determine your core values. Now, you may not think that this actually matters, but I do think it matters. I do think if you actually come up with what you believe that your core values are, it'll help point you in the right direction. So an example of a core value is like loyalty, reliability, open-mindedness, consistency, honesty, efficiency. So I would say that one of my core values for sure is efficiency. I like everything to be efficient. It is also why I am like the queen of multitasking or overlapping things in a way so that everything can be done, and always finding the quickest way to get things done, and so you don't have to do it again sooner. I understand that some tasks have to be repeated no matter what, but if you could push that off for as long as possible, that is beautiful, amazing. That's what Sabrina wants. So yeah, efficiency is definitely one of my top core values, and I could see how efficiency could really play in to my purpose, because again, I like to deliver information to people in the most efficient way. Now you might be thinking, wow, Sabrina, but sometimes your podcasts are like 25 minutes. I feel like that's pretty quick to give a lot of information, and I feel like it's pretty quick to do that on like 5 times a week, so that you're able to just like get those quick snippets. Like at least I'm not going on for hours. Hopefully 25 minutes is not super long. If it is super long, come visit me on Instagram at Sabrina Joy Barroso, or at the RealPositiveGirl podcast, and let me know. And maybe it's something I can improve upon. No promises though. But yeah, just come say hi and let me know your feedback. I'm here for the feedback. But yes, so efficiency is definitely one of my top core values, and I can see how that can play into my purpose, because I do like everything to be like quick, tight, neat, and I like it to just be easy And that definitely plays into my purpose. So let's say that one of your core values is open-mindedness. Maybe that can be related to your purpose because you would like to share something and encourage others to be more open-minded about certain things or certain organizations or people or ideas in general, right? So maybe that's how it plays in. Or maybe you would like people to be more open-minded about you and what you would like to do, and just continuing some sort of campaign about that. Or let's say that your core value is loyalty, and maybe you would like to teach other people how to be more loyal, or you'd like to demonstrate loyalty to others, or maybe you would like to create a business that really stands for loyalty. So you see how like identifying your core values can really relate to whatever your purpose is. So I encourage you to go and if you even just Google a list of core values, you'll be able to read through it. And actually, I personally feel like you'll be able to identify like super quick. You'll be able to be like, oh yeah, that's me. Like, I just feel like core values like stick out so well, especially if you're provided with with a list to choose from. So I encourage you to do that because it will be very helpful. Step number 4 is to discover the crossover. And so I call this the crossover because I believe it's actually called a Venn diagram, where you have 3 different circles and they all overlap in the middle. And so each circle for identifying your purpose, and this is not new research, this is not a new idea. It's one of the classic ways for you to figure out and draw closer to your purpose and your passion. But I believe that it does actually work if you actually spend the time to write out all the things and see how they overlap, but it just takes more time. So if you're not into that, I get it, but if you are, this is for you. So there's 3 circles and they all overlap in the middle. And if you can't imagine it in your mind what I'm saying, I would encourage you to Google Venn diagram, and then you'll understand what I'm talking about. But so one circle represents your gifts, like what you're really good at. One circle represents your passions, like what you already know that you are truly passionate about. And the third circle represents your mission, like what do you stand for? What are your core values? What is the mission of your life? Like, what do you stand for? What would you fall for? And this might be the first Hamilton reference I have thrown in. Just so you know, I am obsessed with Hamilton. Obsessed. Anyway, so when all of those things come together, and then what would cross over? So my suggestion to you is, if you want to do this exercise, you could literally just create like 3 columns on a piece of paper, on your computer, on your phone, whatever, and then just list out what your gifts are, what your passions are, what your mission is, and then figure out where things overlap. Honestly, I would encourage you to do this kind of exercise over 3 different days, because if you try to rush it and do it all at once, your brain might not be able to stretch that far, or you might be on purpose not trying to overlap things, which the point of the exercise is to figure out what is overlapping. So I would suggest doing it over 3 days and doing each one every single day. Like, first write your list of gifts, next day write your list of passions, third day write your list of missions, and then figure out what is similar and what is crossing over. And that can lead you in the direction of figuring out what your passion, what your purpose is, and what you're supposed to be doing with your life, because you'll see what the crossover is, and those items will identify those things. So try that exercise out if you need more direction on that. Like, again, I would just look it up. I would Google it, Venn diagram for finding your purpose, and it'll definitely highlight there and give you more direction. But it's literally just as easy as making 3 different lists and figuring out what is similar between all of the lists. Step number 5, which is the last one, which is the last step I'm going to give you, and the honest reason why I don't know what my purpose is yet. Step number 5 is don't force it. The reason I personally, Sabrina, do not know my purpose yet is because I have been forcing myself. And just so you know, I just came to this conclusion just recently. And I was so excited that I actually came to this conclusion because it's actually helpful. But I have been forcing myself into thinking that I already knew what it was, and because I fell victim to thinking that I only had to have one purpose and passion. And the reason that I didn't know is because I was just forcing myself into that whole thing as one, when in reality, I completely believe that you can have more than one purpose. Now, maybe no one else believes that. I do. And if you believe it, I'm right there with you. I want you to know that you can have more than one purpose. I don't see why not. I don't see why we all have to be pigeonholed into one specific purpose, because a lot of us are multi-talented. Many of us, I would say all of us. And if you don't know that, or if you don't believe that, I would take a step back. I always encourage people to take a step back in their mind, have a wider perspective of your life, what you do, who you are, what you're all about, because you might see something on the fringe or something that you've been trying to tuck away that you don't think is important, that is important. It's amazing. So I encourage you to actually take a step back and really have a wider perspective of who you are and what your life is. It'll actually probably open your eyes if you've never done that before. But I want you to know that I believe that you can have more than one purpose. And to be honest with you, I thought that every single thing that I did in my entire life had to do with mental health and encouragement and motivation. And those things I love. I love them to death. I love this podcast. I love talking about different mental health, encouragement things that'll motivate you, things that'll get your mind thinking, things that'll help you grow. And like I always say, become your best self. That is why I'm doing this show. But I thought that I had to extend that over every single thing that I did in my entire life. And it didn't feel right outside of just doing the podcast. Like immediately the first day that I did the podcast, way back in February when I started the show, it just felt right. And I looked forward to doing it. And even if I had already gotten home late from whatever, I would still be up recording the show. I remember the latest time that I recorded and released the show was literally an hour before it gets released at 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, because I loved it that much. But I thought that I had to extend that into, talking about it all the time on my Instagram, or doing I wanted to start a YouTube channel and doing those videos. But those videos and those posts just never felt fully right. They never felt satisfying. Not as much as chatting with you guys here on the podcast, which I look forward to. I get excited. I'm sure you could tell that I'm overly excited, but it just never felt right. And then I realized, wow, it's because I've been forcing myself into thinking this is the only thing. When in reality, I have other purposes. And I still need to work on narrowing those down. I have ideas. But it just blew me away to realize that and realize I need to share that with my audience, because I need them to know you don't need to be pigeonholed. You don't need to be forced into just one thing. You can be amazing and purposed in 2 things. Maybe even 3 if you're lucky, right? So I just need you to know that, and I wanted to end on it because I knew I was going to be super excited about it, and I just needed you to know, right? And I need you to believe it. So, woo! We have almost hit a half an hour on the show, so I'm going to close it out, you guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, my name is Sabrina. Happy Wednesday. Check the description box for notes for the show, where to find me on Instagram, my email address for any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just to say hey, hi, and hello to me. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you guys listening, sharing, coming back, subscribing, downloading. Thank you so much. Well, I hope you come back tomorrow and for the rest of the week to finish off this topic of focus on these things. But until then, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.